Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to all of you. And welcome to Moose Podcast 324. We're coming down to the last 2 weeks, and there are some special things happening these last 2 weeks. I think it was by design. I hope you and your family and loved ones all are enjoying this incredible season for all that it has to offer. And I appreciate you taking a little bit of your time, because I know it's really precious right now, to stop on by and give the old Moose Podcast a listen. Thank you so much. And one of the great gifts you guys have given me this year is just an incredible amount of support that I tell you, it means the world to me. That's why I keep doing them. So thanks so much for your kind words, the way you go and hit that bounce button and send it to other folks. Really, I'm very grateful. It's one of the great things that, you guys do for me. So thanks so much. Also want to thank my good friend at Bedford's Camera, bedfords.com. I was in a pinch. I needed something. I can't say what because I know they listen to this podcast, but I needed something, and Bedford's, they scored and got it to me. So we'll be underneath the tree. I can't wait. I mean, these guys rock. Camera gear, telescopes, binoculars, printers, paper, you name it, they've got it. And they've got the folks who know what they've got, what it does, if it works or doesn't work for you at killer prices. And of course, when you check out, you got that MOOSE discount. That's Moose. Yes, that's me. You get that 5% discount. So Bedford's Camera, you guys have made it a great year for all of us. I can't thank you enough. And thank you for sponsoring the Moose Podcast. Well, podcast number 324, I've got some winter questions. Actually, I've got a lot. Took a little bit of thought to figure out which ones I wanted to do. So I'm just going to dive right in. An email from Pat says, where should an amateur start? I am giving my son a camera for Christmas. Hope he doesn't listen to the podcast. And, well, boys listening to their dads, where can amateurs start that then gives dad and son a place to carry on? Well, Pat, that's a great question because, I understand sometimes, kids will be kids. Well, where should an amateur start? To be honest with you, sincerely, at your local camera store. I am a huge proponent of mom and pop camera stores, and from Bedford's to Precision to Unique to Service to Picture Line, the list goes on and on. Fort Worth Camera, all of these great camera stores have classroom training. A lot of times they're free if you buy gear from them. Sometimes it's just $10 and you get that back as a in-store credit. But those camera stores, bless their hearts, they put on those classes year long, and they're a great resource. They are just simply a great resource. I've been part of a number for Bedford's at their 6 different stores, and they've got some really great, talented, passionate people. They'll walk you through, what is an f-stop, what's a shutter speed, and all those kind of basics. And the beauty about those camera stores is the vast majority of them have a really great relations with their Nikon rep. And if they don't have the answer you need for your Nikon or whatever brand, they can talk to those reps and get you that answer that you need. And it's a marvelous resource for amateurs to get themselves started. And a lot of times inspired to move further. Now, yes, of course, they want you to, spend more money. But I've been telling manufacturers for 40 years that if you want photographers to buy more gear, just educate them better. The more you're educated, the more you're going to want to buy. And the thing is, you'll buy what's right because you're going to understand and know. And that's that two edge of, being educated. So, Dad, great that you're giving your boy a camera for Christmas. I applaud you for that. Send him to that local camera store. Good place to start. All right. Larry has a question. Comes up almost every year this time. Larry says, "I live in the far north, where we say a lot." I said, "Oh, okay. I bet he's in Canada." Anyway, he says it's about to get dark for a long time. He starts getting cabin fever. What do I suggest, or what do I do during the winter months when the sun goes down so early or doesn't even come up? To not go bonkers. That's not his word. That's mine. I'm not going to say his word. And go bonkers and still be creative. Well, Larry, cabin fever. It can set in. First thing that I do is I actually end up spending more time outside shooting heavenly bodies. And with our home up in Montana, I tend to see if I can't go out, especially those nights when I have some northern lights. And if you're in Canada, like I believe, you'll have all sorts of possibilities with northern lights. Now, before you poo-poo that because you've actually done northern lights, because most people in the northern latitudes, they get addicted to these northern lights. Try to get outside the wheelhouse, get into an uncomfortable situation doing those northern lights. And I'm not talking about doing it in a buff because that's way too much exposure. No, I'm talking about rather, how about doing a portrait with northern lights? As in, seriously, you get some person, clothe them in, some big, giant puffy, maybe, you know, uh, spritz their face with in their hood and their parka a little water, then stick snow on it. So it looks like they're out there frozen, and get that nice Profoto A10 with a click octa and take their portrait with the northern lights going on behind them. And to do that, the easiest way, so as far as I'm concerned, is that I like to do the flash first and then let the shutter drag after that. That way the people know when the pit camera is going to go and they need to hold still. Because if you say hold still now and then you go, then you take a picture, yeah, you minimize the chance of ghosting. But I found that light going off, that actually freezes people in place. And it's going to take a few. So think outside the box. I hate to use that phrase, and just explore something that you might normally be able to work with, like Northern Lights, and then add some to it. Yeah, I know people like to do cabins and tents and stuff, but I think some portraits could be really cool. Some really neat mixed lighting, and once you kind of get it dialed in, you could, especially like with the Pro Photo A10, use their click gels and actually gel that light so it looks like the lighting that for the portraits coming from the northern lights. So I think that'd be kind of cool. Another thing that I like to do is I actually go after icicles. Not that I'm sitting there knocking them down because they can be dangerous, but I'm talking about actually trying to, and I'll go back again this year to kind of man make my own icicles that have a kind of unique shape and clarity. And then I'm going to work on getting that nice specular highlight from it with a real clean background. And I want a real clean kind of glass icicle that you can actually kind of see through, and it kind of looks like some of those crystal ball things people do. So think about the fact that it's cold and it's dark, and what elements are normally part of that environment that you can incorporate into photographs that stimulate you, kind of make you, it's uncomfortable because you've not done it. So you stretch your photography. And of course, if you goof up, you have the opportunity to do it over and over again as long as it's cold and dark. But hey, Larry right there with you when it starts getting, these long nights, finding things so I don't go bouncing off the walls. All right. Mary asks, hey, Moose, I am new to the digital darkroom. I am a novice in Photoshop. In fact, I'm scared to even open up a file in Photoshop. Can you help me? Uh, so, Mary, the first thing I tell you is that Photoshop is the adult video game. Remember that when you open an image in Photoshop, you can close that file, Control or Command W, and then you say no when it says save changes. Just say no, and you've done nothing to that file. So you can play to your heart's content, and you can never destroy that image. Now, personally, because I can't walk and chew gum, I always make a copy of whatever I'm going to work on. So the original is not what I'm working on because I have in the past saved when I should not have saved. I've done that to me more than once, so that's why I always work on that copy. So that's one thing just to keep in mind. It's an adult video game. Next, I can't recommend enough heading over to Kelby One. Yes, I'm an instructor there. Yes, Scott is an incredibly dear friend who I've known for a long time. That's not why I'm saying this. I started off with Kelby. It wasn't Kelby One when I started with him. And there was this delightful, delightful gal there named Julianne Cost. And without Kelby One, I've never met Julianne. And Sharon's first comment when she met Julianne was, "You're the woman's voice I always hear on Moose's computer," because I learned so much about Photoshop from Kelby One instructors. Now, yes, it's important to know that, that command option I is gonna, do this, or, when you're using the magic wand and you hold the option key, you'll do that. And yes, all those things are important to learn that, the keyboard shortcuts and what they're controlling. But more important, as far as I am concerned, is understanding the logic of why you would do something when or not do that. Now, everything in Photoshop, there's at least 100 different ways to accomplish one thing. That's the beauty of it. So you can find the path that works for your final storytelling as well as your logic, but you need to have somebody to kind of get you down that road. Now, I have a number of classes there at Kelby One. There are many, many instructors. We're all talking about the same program. We're all talking about photography. Just we come about it a different way. So once you sign up for Kelby One, you can look at all those classes. Because they're online, you hit the pause button and just check them out and find the instructor that you personally click with. Not so much you're learning a ton with, that you personally click with. The way they organize things, the logic in which they finish things, the A through Z, and then follow along for a while. And keep in mind that, and it's true for everybody, it was true for me. Maybe it was not so true for me because most people start catching on after a couple months. Yeah, it took 6 or 8 months before everything started to kind of click into place how I was going to do things. So give yourself time and understand that, yeah, you got to have a little bit of a workflow, logic flow to the process. And from my own personal point of view, and to get on my soapbox for a second, remember, you want to use Photoshop to finish images, not to fix them. Makes a big difference, and it helps your photography move forward with that basic philosophy. You guys had some really great questions, and I've been told I'm not supposed to say that's a great question because people get bored, tired of hearing that. But, you know, part of this whole thing is knowing the question to ask to get the answer you want. I kind of think this next one kind of falls under that from Tom. He says, hey, Moose, where I live in the Midwest, we get a lot of great waterfowl in the wintertime. How can I maximize when they're here to get some cool shots? Now, so couple things, Tom. Waterfowl are cool all the time. In the wintertime, they're not going to be as beautiful as they are at the end of winter going into spring. But with that said, they are more dependent on food. For example, I just had the most, Sharon, I had this amazing experience down outside of Phoenix, Arizona. And we went to a new location and it had a floating boardwalk, which I had to see what it was like. And we walked out there. We had taken just 2 steps down there. And all of a sudden, this massive flock of ring-necked ducks come floating over in a real rush. Now, ring-necked ducks, if you worked with waterfowl, you know they don't typically get habituated. They tend to be really, really, really shy. And as far as I'm concerned, a little challenging to photograph. So they just came swarming over. Now, if you're working with waterfowl, having them come to you, first of all, is a big plus. Now you might wonder, and I kind of paraphrased your question a little bit. I think you're trying to ask me if I ever get in a inner tube on water with waterfowl. I got to tell you, Tom, I have not, and I regret that. It's something that's really on the top of my list to do. Is there's this gentleman over in Europe who makes a phenomenal floating blind that, if nothing else, because it looks really bitchin', I want one. But I actually want to go out and do that kind of work. I haven't done it. So that's part of your question. With that said, keep in mind that one of the challenges for photographing waterfowl in the wintertime is that that water is reflecting whatever above it. And in the wintertime, we tend to have a lot of gray skies, right? That goes with winter. And the thing with gray skies, it just like you shouldn't be photographing birds against a gray sky if they're perched or flying. You know, when they're on the water, it's basically the same thing. It's the same gray, it's being reflected back. So that's one of the big challenges is that gray sky. Next, I have not personally done enough waterfowl in my career. If there is a regret, is that I didn't really make that a priority and go out and shoot more waterfowl. I love watching them. I love listening to them, and their antics are really amazing. Going back to this weekend with the ringneck ducks, I had a couple that had just a whole lot of attitude, and I love looking at that and getting that attitude. But I love more is that water world in which they live in, that background that they float upon and they they go crazy as they paddle away. It is such a reflective surface, and with the smallest of disturbance, you get all these incredibly cool ripples. So the combination of the great bird, and sorry, ladies, I really like the vast majority of the males better than the females. I mean, you just gotta look like a bufflehead or a herd of merganser or a wood duck. Males are just spectacular, and I loved the. And I wish I had more examples of those beautiful males in that water that just looks like some watercolor painting. That's just it just the undulations in it, it's just mind-boggling. I love that stuff. So, Tom, to your question, it's waterfowl is a challenge. It does take time. It's not like some other, species of birds. You have to deal with that water world and getting close. You don't have to necessarily be on the water 'cause, but you have to think about that as a reflective surface and then get close to those birds. But yeah, you can do it. And my hat's off to you if you do, because you'd be better than me at that. So good luck with that, Tom. I think that's a great endeavor. My last question is kind of a personal one that I thought I would answer because it was kind of fun and it is the season. Larry says, Moose, what's on your Christmas list for 2022? Well, uh, it's actually nothing photographic. It's that's one thing that the family never has ever bought for me is something photographic for many obvious reasons. One of the biggest ones is that if I need it, I just go get it anyway. So no, the stuff on my list is like a new scroll saw for the wood shop and a fly rod rack for the top of the truck. Some things of that nature that people always ask. I should say people always ask, but a very common question I get a lot is, uh, "Do I do photography all the time? I mean, is there any time I don't do photography?" And the answer is really no. I always do photography, even if I'm in the wood shop or I'm out fly fishing. The camera's there, and I take photograph what's happening. Those are kind of the major things on my list. Are just a bunch of uh, some other specialty tools for that wood shop and that rack. Um, and then I have a couple of books that are on there as well. But my list, my list is kind of short. I am a very fortunate person. This year, the greatest gifts will be the fact the whole family will be together here at the ranch for a number of days for mayhem, good food, laughs, and some game playing. And boy, I take that gift any day of the year, all year long. But I appreciate you thinking of me and asking, Larry. And if you're thinking about giving me something, Larry, I can email you that list if you want. Amazon's good about that. You guys have a very special week. Spend it with all your loved ones. Enjoy this great season. And remember to make every click your story.